If you have been feeling the energies that have been hitting the planet lately with all kinds of trauma, drama, and emotional highs and lows, you are not alone. And here the angels are telling us why this is happening. So welcome back to my channel, you guys. And if this is your first time here, my name is Ann Tucker. I am a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm. And that means I raise my awareness up as high as I can go. I go a little higher. I connect. And the messages come through and I transcribe them and I share them here with you on YouTube. And today's message, again, the angels are giving us a lot of guidance right now about how to navigate what is happening. We are in the ascension. This is happening. This has started. The energies have begun and we are moving through it. And so a lot of their messages lately have been giving us guidance about what's happening and what we can do to help ourselves move through it. And so here again is a very specific message. They're talking about the energies we've been experiencing and how they're helping to confront us, to help us clear and create an open space where we are ready to receive the energies that are coming. So it's a beautiful message. I hope you enjoy it. And if you do, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks a lot, you guys. All right, so here is their message for today. They say, the light you are in has come down. It shines now within each. You are a glowing ember of him. You align to import his essence. You are kind. You are strong. You are measured in his whim. You carry all that is him. And here recognize this is they speak through me. They use I think of God in the masculine, even though I understand that God is often in the feminine, that God can be in the feminine, that's just me. So just replace that with your word, please. That's just how I phrase it. So they're going to speak through me and use my language. But what they're saying here, the light you are in has come down. It shines now within each. So they're really speaking about the light from source. Source light has come down onto the planet and it is within each of us. You are a glowing ember of him. I love that it is a glowing ember. An ember, I think, in their language is always so careful, right? That an ember implies that we have that fire, that spark inside of us. But you know that you can take a single ember and from that single ember, you can restart an entire fire with just the right oxygen and kindling, right? That an ember contains the whole fire inside of it. So we are a glowing ember. Love that. You align to import his essence. Again, a reference to the fact that our chakras need to be in alignment before we can really have that full connection to source, before we can let it in. You align to import his essence. You are kind. You are strong. You are measured in his whim. You carry all that is him. So, and I like that they say you are kind, you are strong. See, these are just attributes or qualities that where we are in that spirit, that source light, that sense of love, measured in his whim. So it's like knowing how to regulate whether it be our feelings of like when we laugh or when we feel joy and when we feel sorrow, we can be measured. We know how to interact with each other. We know how to be respectful of other people's feelings. So it's all of that. It's referencing holding his qualities or the qualities of source, as well as using those in our interactions with each other and understanding our relationship to each other and our impact on each other. So a lot in a very little paragraph. And you're saying so much tension. Yeah. Happy Friday. Hey, Jacka, great to see you. So yeah, it has been so much tension, like a palpable, depending on, I really felt it the other day. It kind of startled me. But okay, so that first paragraph again, lots there. We go into second paragraph. They say, but you are now solvent. Dissolute no longer, you empty your hearts of their tokens and free your aspect to begin this new start of self. You are emptying your person, all that you are carrying, the tidings good and bad giving, the synergy and isolation of your mind's passing, all must be discharged. This occurs now in the emptying of which we speak. So this is what we're doing. This is why the energies are here and why we're experiencing them the way that we are. It's an emptying, right? We're emptying out. And it gets to this whole idea we've talked about in our previous Friday Lives about this idea that if you want to really purge your wardrobe, you need to clear out the closet and make space and then go and go shopping after that, right? You can make things empty, that you can't bring in something new and then just expect the new to come in and it to just replace the old and let the old. You have to end one thing and then start another and be in that space of opening, in that space of emptiness for a little while. And this whole message is talking about that in a very specific way. And you're saying there's been so much conflict energy lately in my life. Yeah, it's very hard to get away from right now. And whatever it is that needs to come up for us is coming, is surfacing. So they say, but you are now solvent. And solvent here, again, double meaning because they do that. Solvent means debt-free. And solvent also means that a solvent dissolves other substances. So you are now solvent. So you are, on one hand, to be debt-free, to be, it's like being whole, being solvent is like to be, yes, you're being aligned, being connected. Being debt-free refers to letting go of your karma, right? And then it also talks about dissolving other dissolving other substances. How do we let go of our karma? By dissolving our wounds. So you see, well, this is and when they speak in that sometimes they're tense, you are now solvent. This is the state we're moving into. We're moving into solvency as spirit, right? Our spirit is moving into solvency where we no longer have debt, where we dissolve those substances inside of us that are holding us back. They say, dissolute no longer. So to be dissolute is like to be lax. Like to be, if you look it up in the dictionary, it says like morally lax, but it's like, it's literally like, so to be kind of mired in junk. That's what I'll call it. Mired in your junk. Dissolute no longer. You empty your hearts of their tokens and free your aspect to begin this new start of self. So this is the process that we're in. We're in the emptying process, trying to empty ourselves out. And they say, you are emptying your person, all that you are carrying, the tidings good and bad giving. So this means like, where do we have, and they talked about this in one of our previous Friday Lives, where do we have expectations that we're really locked into? So this would be tidings that it might be good. Things that we say, oh my gosh, I really got to have, my life has to turn out this way. This is going to be the good thing I'm wishing for. I'm going to put a whole lot of energy into it being this way. That is something, an expectation that locks us in. So that doesn't clean out the closet. They want us to really, to be open, to be allowing, because we can't anticipate what's going to come. So if we're really locked into even the good things, we got to be open and say, yeah, if that turns out that way, great. But what else? Like, what other possibilities are there to open? So you are releasing everything that we're carrying, the good and bad giving, the synergy and isolation of your mind's passing. So the places in which our mind feels really activated and alive, the places that where we feel like, oh, this is again, anywhere that we get really locked in, or the isolation where we feel really separated. Anywhere that we have attachment, we have to start letting go of. All must be discharged. This occurs now in the emptying of which we speak. So this is what we're going through. These energies that are coming in are bringing stuff up to the surface so we can see our attachments. What is it that you really want and don't have yet? And do you have attachment to that? What is it? What is it that you're craving or wishing for and that you're grieving that you don't have, right? What is it that you're angry about that is maybe dormant? And maybe that's coming up to the surface right now. What are those core wounds that you haven't looked at just yet? So these energies are helping us to bring all this to the surface. All right, next paragraph. They say, this numbing of your essence, that permutation of your life energy, it summons to you this release. It allows the self to move through with less force, more ease. Let go all vibratory tones of disharmony. An empty vessel has no retort and holds what rises too. So they're saying that this numbing of your essence, so these energies that come down, think of it as like a numbing of your essence, where it gives you this an experience of what's happening. It's almost like it allows you to distill the junk that's inside of you. A numbing of your essence, it's sort of like, I think it is allowing this stuff to percolate up. It summons to you this release. So these energies are helping you to summon this up, to bring it up to the surface. It allows the self to move through with less force, more ease. So it's like the work of years could be condensed down to this period. Stuff that might normally be really, really hard for you to encounter in yourself. And this is a truth that as you are on your path and you get clearer and clearer and you work on yourself, these deep issues get harder and harder and harder to find, harder to notice, because it's like the low-hanging fruit has already been picked. The stuff that's really obvious, you've already done. So how are you going to find these last things that maybe the really dark, deep ones, that maybe it's something you thought you already cleared and there's still layers of it deeper, or maybe it's stuff that you thought was so ingrained you didn't know how you were ever going to clear it, and now is the time. Now it's going to move with a lot more ease. So, and I know that for sure, like this has been happening for me too. I just, this past week have been clearing stuff that I thought was going to be super heavy to move. And once I identified it and felt it and let it move through me, it literally just came up and out. And it was so easy. The process of moving it was so easy because it's an energy that I have struggled against for my whole life. And it just kind of moved out, and it was so easy. I almost had to take it, like I've been looking at it going, I keep poking it, like, is that really gone? I keep trying to trigger myself again, like, am I still holding that? Because it was so strange that it just lifted. So I think it's way easier to lift our junk right now, to move through our stuff. They say, let go all vibratory tones of disharmony. An empty vessel has no retort. So, and a retort is like that defensiveness, that angry reply, right? So an empty vessel has no retort. So what they're saying is that if we can empty all this stuff, well, why is it important that we empty out, that we clear all this junk now? Why is it that we can't just kind of, move through it in a more easy, normal, what we would consider a normal fashion of just gradually encountering our junk as we go? And they say, okay, an empty vessel has no retort. There's no resistance. There's no pushback. So it allows you to draw in more of this ascension energy, to bring in more light, right? This is what they're after. How do they get us to a place where we can allow more light into our physical bodies, into our spiritual awareness? How do we allow all of this to lift to a higher frequency? And they say, an empty vessel. Empty the vessel, an empty vessel has no resistance. And it holds what rises too. So it becomes, because it's open, right? There's room for new stuff to come in. So you say, I like the less force, more ease. Me too. And I find that to be, it's really encouraging. And I will tell you firsthand, that was my experience for sure. Something, like I said, big stuff that I have struggled with for what I thought, was life patterns that I had a really hard time shaking free. And I can't find them. I've been looking. I've been trying to trigger myself. I can't find them. They're gone. So, and easy. Like, and once I settled down, like I had to let myself feel it. I had to do my healing process, but it moved. Once I was open and once I acknowledged it, it moved with a surprising ease. So, yeah. And you're saying, what's the best way to clear our junk? I can tell you, I have used different techniques for self-healing throughout my journey. And I can tell you that what I do now, it's really about noticing the feeling. And I find that it's not even necessary to go into the story. If you have something coming up for you and you feel like, notice in yourself, especially if you're one of those people that has become distanced from your feelings, if your mode of self-protection in life, and this is super true for a lot of empaths, that our way of dealing with really heavy feelings is to leave our bodies, right? We evacuate the body and we experience it from way over there, which that was me for sure. And I had to relearn how to feel my feelings. And even now I have to sort of I get this gradual discomfort sometimes, and it takes me a few days to stop myself and say, wait a minute, that's not a normal feeling. What is that? Like, settle down and feel it. Like, let it speak to you. So when something comes up, whatever's going on in your energy, if you're not feeling great right now, there's something to be cleared. So settle down with it, sit down with it, and see if you can feel into it. Let it speak to you in a gradual way. And it might come up as you might say, well, I'm angry because this person said that, and kind of go through that rigmarole and recognize, not, you know what, I'm projecting, I'm making it about them. What does it make me feel about me? What does this take me back to in terms of my own self? What's the core feeling underneath it? And just let it move through. Get past the narratives. Let go of the narratives. Get to the core feeling. And you may get to a place where the narrative doesn't even matter. So these days, when I go to clear myself, it used to be that I would have to go into it and I'd have to conjure the feeling and try to identify it and put a word on it, put a color on it, identify that color in my body, wait to let that color grow and grow until it literally took over my body, and then it moved out, and I would feel it move out, and then I would try to feel the feeling and I couldn't grab it anymore, and then I would know it was gone. These days, it's much simpler. What I'm doing now is I open up, I ask for help, let the angels come in, the feelings move up, and I just let them move. And I don't have any attachment to that. There's no narrative, there's no story. I literally just let the feeling lift up. And then when it moves and tears come up, the whole thing, ugly cry, like let it flow. And then when that happens, I will sit in it for a minute and I will go back and I will kind of look for it. I'll look for that feeling. Does it feel different? Did I get all of it? Is there more there? And if there's more there, maybe there's another layer. the process starts again. So hopefully that helps. But it is very possible to do self-healing. And the color method I mentioned, very effective. If you're just starting to work on yourself, very effective. To find it in your body, feel a density in your body, give it a color so you can start to perceive it in your mind, let it grow, feel the feelings, let them come up, let them take over your body. They won't last for more than 90 seconds. It's only our fear of feeling them that keeps them down. So anyways, total tangent. I hope that's helpful, you guys. And Jacko was saying, I wish I could know what exactly I released a few days ago. I could only say it was karmic in nature. The next day I encountered the same exact situation. It made me lose my stuff. I just changed that word for you. You're very welcome. I reacted 100% differently. And it was so easy. I was shocked that it wasn't there anymore. Yes! Phenomenal. That is so cool. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, this is a time it's going to come up in that way and you can release it. So, and so these methods I talked about are ways I've talked about, but experiment with your own energy. Ask for help. Ask for help from your guides, from your angels. They will be delighted right now, especially to help you heal. And it's about not getting locked in the story, not getting locked in the narrative about, who did what, and just letting you feel it, and it will move. You're saying that's an excellent process. Thanks. You're so welcome. Yeah. And if you have questions about that, let me know. If you try it and you're like, okay, it didn't work or it did work, I'm super happy to keep the dialogue going. So let me know if you try that out. If it doesn't work or if you need help, I'm super happy to come back in and answer questions. Okay. All right. So you're saying, your guides are telling me, go. Yes. Okay. I'm moving across the country to a place that my soul is calling me. Huge shifts. Oh, how exciting. Yeah, it is definitely a really, a really powerful time where we can move things really easily, surprisingly easily. Okay, so next paragraph, they say, it makes one wonder how to merge and do more things. When you are empty, you feel not the cauldron inside, but transpire life full. With brevity, you feel the same charge all through, and wonder not at peaceful vibrations you are having. For there is space within the earth and all things for heightened consequence, more thoughtful energy, greater light to hold within yourself. So what they're saying here, in a nutshell, is that our temptation is that we, and they're going to talk about this in a couple paragraphs here, but the nut of it is that once we open something or we get rid of something, our immediate tendency is to fill it up again. Is that we aren't super comfortable with ambiguity. Most of us aren't super comfortable with ambiguity or with that sensation of where you're kind of between things, being between things, uncomfortable space for most of us. And that's where they're asking us to go to a space of opening, where there isn't, and so we clear something and then we just, it's okay, we'll move into the next thing and we'll fill it with a new thing and we'll move on. What's the next lesson? I want the next, give me the next chunk of karma to chew on. And they're saying, not right now. They want us to be in this state of in between, this open space. And I think it's important to recognize that what's true in the small is true in the large. What's true for this opening process is going to be true for us. It's going to be the same for the earth. So there has to be this period of quiet between things. And it reminds me when the angels told us that they had to move into a space of sort of a neutral space in their own process, because they are moving with us, right? They're going through this ascension period too, because they're tied to us. They've been living with us here in our density, and they have to move through and go to this process too. And they went through a period of, I don't want to call it, I can't remember what they called it. There was some word they had that described it, but it's like a neutral space. And that's what we're moving into. That's what they want us to try to hold. And it goes against our human natures. We are not comfortable with uncertain things. So they break the paragraph down. Yeah, and Jen is saying, as above, so below. Yeah. And you're saying that's so true, that limbo place where the trauma is released, there's a feeling of emptiness. It feels like something is missing and it feels unsettling. Exactly. Yes, that's exactly what we're talking about. All right. So to break down the paragraph, they say it makes one wonder how to merge and do more things. So that's it. Like, okay, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm not attached to anything. I've let go of my family junk. What new junk can I find? Who can I attach to? What new thing can I get involved in? Right? How can I merge with something? How can I do more things? How can I fill this void that I feel? And they say, when you empty, you feel not the cauldron inside, but transpire life full. So when you are empty, basically they're saying you're making more space for light. So we're just missing the sensation of churning. We're not used to it. We're not used to being without that sensation of being activated by our junk. So they're saying that when you're empty, you don't feel that, but you're actually full. You're actually full of light when you're empty. When you empty out the junk, you're carrying more light. We're just not accustomed to the feeling. They say with brevity, you feel the same charge all through. And they're saying it's literally like in an instant with brevity. Within an instant, you can feel this sort of, rather than feeling more energy, like where there's things that pull you in a direction, where you have junk that draws you away from your conscious presence. You feel the same charge all through. You're just neutral. You're in a space of openness. So you feel the same charge all through. And you wonder not at peaceful vibrations you are having. For there is space within the earth and all things for heightened consequence. So they're saying that there is space within us, and the earth and all things, everything has space for this kind of light. They're saying greater light to hold within yourself. So they're saying, they're basically getting like, atta girl, atta boy, you could do this. There is space within us to hold this. We can do this. All right, so then they go on to say, you pull this energy, but you will miss it. You pull this energy, but you will miss it, dears. It will fly by yourselves should you not let it in. And through your own habit, you may form a resistance to what is not known and make no place for it. Your halves of self each claim a hole and leave no space for opening. Therefore, we say, open up now, receive us, this illumination, when your kind experiences it. Let it in. You cannot now unless the harbor it seeks is open. So, and I always love how they describe things and describe us. There's always a little tongue in cheek. They like to give us a little bit of a hard time, which I think is funny. They say, you pull this energy, but you will miss it, dears. It will fly by yourself. So it is very possible. Like everything is free will. We can say no thanks. We can be stuck on our own junk and miss this opportunity. And that's very possible. They're saying it will fly by. Like look at how fast time is moving right now. And this energy, this possibility, as these solar waves, all this energy is hitting the planet, it's very possible for us to be in it and to be in resistance to it and to miss this great opportunity. And they're saying, and you may through your own habit, just because this is how we've always been, because how we learned to be, how we learned to cope with being here, was a lot of times to try to power through and to kind of keep up our boundaries and protect ourselves, or to leave our bodies, right? Whatever we've done to avoid feeling the hard stuff. And they say that those habits, they may form a resistance to what is not known, because we're not used to this experience of being open. And they say, and make no space or opening. Therefore, we say, open up now. So it takes a real conscious awareness. The more conscious we are of this process, the more advantage we can take of it. Receive us this illumination when your kind experiences it. So as we are experiencing it, they're saying, let it in. You can't experience it unless the harbor it seeks is open. So I think they're speaking here, there is more coming. And it won't land unless we've done this work. So we need to do this work in order to let more of it in. It's not that you're going to receive none of it. It's just that you could receive a lot of it. So it can't come in unless we've made this cleared this opening. And so you're saying, Jen is saying, some healers call it the gap between thoughts. It's where transcendental meditation occurs. Oh, very cool. And Edie is saying, it's so true. I felt my light body expand the other day, and then I realized so many of my old hurts are just gone. That is awesome. I was also wondering, where did all my internal drama go? This is verification for me to enjoy this new feeling of lightness and levity. Yeah. And to try to stay in that space of open, and to try not to automatically fill it. Like we do. We look out for, okay, what's the next thing? The space of open is in some ways traumatic, because we don't have that cauldron that we're so used to, that churning sensation that pulls us in different directions, that distracts us from just being present right now. You're saying your angel meditations help with clearing patterns and resistance. Yes, they do, as a matter of fact. So there's, if you are wanting extra support right now, and this is a great time for it, the Angelic Frequency Series would be a remarkable tool to be using right now. Not only does it help to activate, there's 9 different frequencies that activate your spiritual gifts, and that's all about being open, about being receptive. So that's, if you're looking for extra support, that's on my website, which is anntucker.com. So, and it's called the Angelic Frequency Series. And you can do one, you can look through the whole list and look at how they're You pull, let's see. Yeah, okay, sorry, next paragraph. And place not there some new thing. Reveal yourself freedom and peaceful tranquility without some barrage of ideas. Leave this space within the self an opening. Leave all you are to be disavowed. Your grace now carries itself higher than this ride on earth, and your opening lessens the connection with that drawing frustration that limits your birth. So this, to break it down, they say, this is exactly what we've been talking about. So now that we're open, they're saying, place not there some new thing. Don't just go grab some new obsession or some new frustration or some new thing that triggers you and stick it in there, because it's hard to live without the cauldron. That's that turmoil. They say, reveal yourself freedom and peaceful tranquility without some barrage of ideas. So not to go looking for new stuff, so just allow yourself to be in that peaceful, open space. Leave this space within the self an opening. Leave all you are to be disavowed. So, and this is a hard one. How to be, because I think here's the complicating thing. I think a lot of us identify so strongly with our junk and our patterns, and that comes from family ties. It comes from our experience of ourselves in the world, the polarity that we're in. I am this, not that, right? That's part of it. And they're saying to disavow all of that. And that's not easy. And we know that at the root of it, underneath all that, you are still you. You will still be a separate and distinct soul, even without those polarizing distinctions in the places where we find our hurts and our wounds that define us. But it is a disavowing of what we've been. And that can be hard. It can feel like losing your connection to what you thought was important to you. Right. And I've even had in some of my healing sessions, like in the Golden Circle, we had some people who were literally in the last couple of weeks have been separated from their entire ancestral line and said, okay, here's this whole entourage of people that are in your energy field, and all of them, okay, let go. And that was a big deal because her family history is remarkable. And to let go of all that, to let it go and to not have it be part of who she is, and to say, no, you're claiming a different line, which is your line to spirit, right? You're claiming something new. So that disavowing of what we've been can feel like trauma. And I think they're saying to recognize you're not moving to loss, you're moving to reclaiming the truth of what you are, which is not lost in the earth story, right? It's really about reclaiming your truth to spirit. Yeah, your connection to spirit. So your grace now carries itself higher than this ride on earth. So, and that's exactly what I'm just saying, is that your grace is now connecting to higher elements of who you really are that are not connected to this earth embodiment. And this is part of our ascension. Our awareness grows. We become much more aware of why we're here, what we're doing here, who we are, all of those things. It's not limited to this ride on earth. And they're saying and also your opening lessons. I love that. Opening lessons. This is, why did we come here? Right? What are we learning? How are we trying to grow? Those things that we brought down from birth to learn in this lesson. They say the connection with that dawning frustration that limits your birth. So, and that's all about our karma that we came in with, right? The dawning frustration. I love that. We're born, we wake up, you open our eyes at birth, and there's the frustration. The frustration of existence, right? It's such a good way of describing it. So, okay. And you're saying, I came across LSD this past Saturday. It cleared so much junk out of me. Oh, that's interesting. For the next few days, I love the sound of silence. However, now the unease with silence come back. I wonder what angel means by being open. We have to command light to come in, or we are vulnerable to darkness. No, being open, and I think that is, I'm so glad you brought that up. Does opening make you vulnerable? When you are empty, does that make you more susceptible to darkness? And when we say darkness, we mean entities or attachments or things like that by being open. And I would say absolutely not. That when the way that an entity attaches to you is when you are stuck in your junk. An entity attaches to you when you are feeling anger, when you are emitting low vibrations out of your field, when your energy dips. That creates an opening. And that's when you can get, and it's not saying every time you're angry, you're going to get an attachment, but when your energy descends, when it goes down, that is when they can connect. When you're high vibe, when you're feeling great, they can't get in, right? Because, and this goes back to, if you walk into a room and you turn on a light switch, the light switch chases out the dark, right? You can't walk into a room and turn on a dark switch. There's no dark switch. It doesn't happen. You can't all of a sudden extinguish the light in that same way. You can't turn on dark and have it chase out the light. It doesn't work. So if you are feeling in a high vibration, if you're holding the light, the dark can't come in, right? Low vibe cannot supplant high vibe. So it is that feeling that when you dip your energy, that is when, so if you are open, if you're in this state of awareness, in this state of connection, then being open does not mean you're more receptive to negativity. It means you're more connected, right? You're out of your junk. And, all right, so moving on, the next paragraph, they say, we speak to possibility, to what is come and is coming. The chance to be relieved of what you are from here on plane of earth and leave tranquil the exigencies of this life. An opening is come, will come again. A higher mind empties yours further. Let yourself be found in these moments, these tender reflections and angry divides. So here they're trying to say they're talking about, we speak to now, to what's happening now, to possibility, and to what is come and what is coming. So they're saying they're talking about what's happening right now, and they're saying more is coming. So they're trying to be specific here. This is what's on the table. This is what's coming for us. So to be aware, this opportunity is still happening. They're saying the chance to be relieved of what you are from here on plane of earth, to get rid of all of our karma, all of our junk. They've been talking about this for a while. How do we clear out? And leave tranquil the exigencies of this life. And exigencies, that means the daily demand, the urgencies, the things that we think are super important, but in the big picture are really not, right? They're not stuff that we're going to take with us when we die. There's stuff about like just, I got to go do my laundry, whatever it is, right? The daily stuff, to leave tranquil, to let those things feel like they're not pressure. And it doesn't mean that you don't have to do your laundry anymore. It means that you don't have to feel stress and anxiety about that. And to let the negative feelings, so that the way that those pressures come in and distract you from being present, that's what they're talking about. An opening has come, so this has been happening, and will come again. So be aware, this opportunity is ongoing. A higher mind empties yours further. So this is divinely planned, right? And is intended to help us open our thoughts, open our thinking, open the junk that we're carrying. Let yourself be found in these moments, these tender reflections and angry divides. So it's noticing, the way we participate in this process is noticing as we are triggered, noticing as we are sad or angry, right? The tender reflections and angry divides, and using them for our own clearing and being part of this. You're saying stress equals distraction. Exactly. Yes, totally agree, Jen. Thank you. Yeah. So next paragraph, they say, your passage is clear. Should you allow your feelings to emerge? To set now yourself against nothing, but to merge with earth and condense this peace in your own heart. The empty feeling to sustain you now in passage through this rebirth, it comes. Sacred self of arrival, the map to lift you higher, it is here in operation. A piecemeal sort of instigation, one bit at a time. Have faith in your arrival. I feel like this paragraph is huge. I feel like this paragraph is incredibly helpful because there is so much confusion out there about what is going on with this ascension. How does ascension work? How do we do it? Is there going to be some big, the sky is going to open up and big bridges are going to come down and we're all going to walk across the bridges and go to they're saying, no, they're describing it for us. Your passage is clear. So to me, this is so incredibly helpful because it's not a passive process. This is an active process that requires our participation. We have free will even in the ascension. So they're saying your passage is clear. Should you allow your feelings to emerge, right? To set now yourself against nothing. So huge. We are in at the time of the greatest polarity I think any of us can ever remember, right? Huge polarity. To set yourself against nothing. Okay? But to merge with earth and condense this peace in your own heart. Okay, so that is right there a mouthful. And I think it is something to think about in terms of as we are working on our own energy. So, okay, to set yourself against nothing. So look at anywhere that you are in judgment of anything and anyone, including yourself. Where do you carry judgment? To set yourself against nothing and to just start excavating. Anywhere you have judgment, can you release it, right? Number 2, they say, so set yourself against nothing. So get rid of your judgment. And then they say, merge with earth. So this is really about being present and being in this plane and allowing yourself to truly ground into this reality and not get distracted in our thoughts, right? They've talked about that in the last Friday Live, about we're stuck in our brow, I think they said, right? To merge, really merge with earth, to be here, right? And to condense this peace in your own heart. So once we feel open, once we clear stuff out, and you don't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be all gone, every bit counts. So as you recover a bit of yourself, you clear something out and you find a new space of peace and you feel that slightly uncomfortable emptiness where you kind of feel like maybe you miss it. Maybe you miss that little turmoil and you feel like, well, what am I now? That little weird sense of floatingness, that gap, that one that you called it. They say in that space, you want to condense this peace, right? So you hold on to that and condense it. Let it get stronger. Let it get gravity to it, right? Let it materialize inside of you. Right? Let it condense this peace in your own heart, the empty feeling to sustain you now, right? So that sensation is going to sustain you as you move through this rebirth. It comes. So this is what we need to be holding, is this feeling of being open, of being ready, of not being in judgment, of not knowing, and being okay with the uncertainty. That's what we're trying to get to. And every little bit, they're saying it's not an all or nothing. And that's what they say. The rest of this paragraph is about that. It's not an all or nothing. So important. They're saying, it comes, the sacred self of arrival, the map to lift you higher, it is here in operation. So the sacred self of arrival, like how do we move into this higher state of our own being? The sacred self of arrival into this heightened state of awareness, the map to lift you higher. So it's like, okay, what are the map is basically what is our higher self? That is the map. Right, the map of how the map to lift you higher is to try to move more and more into that energy of our sacred self, of that higher incarnation of ourselves. It is here in operation. So they're saying it is here that this process that we're moving through, this blueprint that we're naturally stepping into, we are stuck in the weeds. We are working on dealing with our junk. But within that context, the stuff that's coming to us is a map to our ascension, that we are inside of it already, and it's trying to move us. It's like that higher mind that they talked about that knows us intricately and knows where we hold our hurts, and is now deliberately triggering those and allowing us to release them. So we are stuck in the weeds of doing this, but know that you are being held within a container, a map that's moving you towards your higher expression of yourself. And they say a piecemeal sort of instigation. So it's like it's not a big wash. It's a little here, it's a little there. You're moving junk as it comes up. Have faith. They say one bit at a time. Have faith in your arrival. So again, feeling like you're worrying that you haven't done enough would be being back in judgment of yourself. So the idea is every bit that you do moves you closer into alignment. Every little bit of clearing, everything that triggers you is a treasure right now. Every bit of thing that where you feel angry or sad, or even though it's not fun, it is a treasure. And as you clear it, and if you can clear it and then stay in that space of openness and start to condense that peace and feel it as like a gravity of being settled in the now, that is every little bit of that you collect is phenomenal, right? And to honor that for yourself, that is hard work. It's really hard work. And you're doing great. And it's meant to be piecemeal. It's meant to be every little step counts. They say, have faith in your arrival, that you're doing great. They go on to say, pass through not without disposal of all that does rise and pour through. Your anger, your hatred, to dispose of these now behooves you. Let yourself be able to carry what comes now, dears. An opening must be harbored for some time. To leave thyself an impression of knowing not what comes where you stand, and to arrive a blank slate of possibility. To receive what is allowed by your own being to make this positive transition. So, and you're saying, was struggling with this just before joining, wondering why it is so hard to just be without judging, as it is as a waste of time. Yeah, and it is hard to let go of our judging and judging ourselves in particular. But yeah, you're right. And it's really, really true, but it's so beneficial if we can just be aware of it, just notice ourselves that when we are in judgment. And you're saying great news that it isn't all or nothing. It really isn't. It's a process. And this whole ascension thing, this whole thing is a process. So every bit that we do helps. And so this paragraph is saying, pass through not without disposal of all that does rise and pour through. So every opportunity that comes for you to try to take advantage of it as best you can, just to do it as best as you can. Your anger, your hatred, to dispose of these now behooves you. So they're specifically saying those because we know those are pretty heavy, especially hatred, very heavy energy. And your anger is, you guys all know the sort of the stack of emotions. Anger is the lid that holds down your grief and your shame and those like really heavy things. So it's like, so do your best when those come up to really focus on those and try your best to release them. Let yourself be able to carry what comes now. So it is, they're again honoring our free will. Let yourself be able. It is our own willingness, our own our permission, right? The ways in which we are willing to deal with our fear and let these feelings come up. And it is not easy. I really understand that. It triggers you like at a deep, deep level with some of these feelings, and it's hard, but it's worth it. And every bit counts. So they go on to say in the same paragraph, let's continue to read through it together to break it apart. They say, an opening must be harbored for some time. So this isn't an instant thing. This is going to be a process. I think years. I think we're going to be going through this, more energies coming through for a long time. So it's really a new state of being, a new way of trying to get comfortable, of living without that cauldron they talked about, and getting comfortable with trying to anchor more and more peace in our bodies. To leave thyself an impression of knowing not what comes where you stand. So being okay with that uncertainty, and to arrive a blank state of possibility. To receive what is allowed by your own being to make this positive transition. So, and more, every little bit you do matters. All right. And last paragraph, they say, this space of becoming you are in, it forces healing. It lifts you within, and you feel the consequential elimination. There are energies that stir your mind. Your translucent self emerges and distills your counterparts for all to avow their place and let relief pour in. Receive this now, this opening, a passage for the earth. Receive this benefit you are in. The turmoil inside, it hearkens your passage. Let it win. And so just to break this paragraph down, it's the last paragraph. They say, the space you are becoming in, it forces feeling. So we are being confronted now, is what they're talking about. It is a very confronting time, and that's on purpose. They say, it lifts you within, and you feel the consequential elimination. So it's lifting energy, it's lifting whatever's heavy is being drawn up and out. Right? And you're feeling this consequential elimination. We can't avoid it. It's coming up. There are energies that stir your mind, right? Your translucent self emerges and distills. So your translucent self, I see this is like your soul spirit emerges and distills your counterparts. So we know that we are made of layers and layers and layers and layers of self, that you are living many incarnations at the same time, that we are layers, that we are many layered beings. So that it says it distills your counterparts. So by doing this work, they're saying that you are working across many layers of your being at once. So if you are clearing something, it's being cleared across all layers. So this is big. So they say it distills your counterparts for all to avow their place. To avow means to confess openly. So where is it that you, for example, that you have a crazy fear of spiders for no apparent reason and you don't know why. And if you go to one of those layers back there, they had some horrible traumatic experience with spiders, right? And it's them, right? It's not you that has that. It's that other layer way back there. And that layer can now avow or confess openly, yep, that's me. I got the spider thing, right? That's all me. And so they own it, right? And let relief pour in. So through this process, they say that there are energies that stir your mind, and so in this process, it stirs. It's like it starts to free stuff up, so you can start to see yourself more clearly. So freeing things up, your translucent self emerges, your soul self comes forward and distills all these counterparts, all these aspects of you that go back in other dimensions and other realities, right? All these parts of you that are in there, past lives, all of it, right? And says, and then they avow their place. They all say, yep, that's my energy. I'm the one that's, that made a vow that you would never make any money or whatever it was that happened, right? All the junk we worry that we have in our field somewhere. And they let relief pour in. So through their avowing, through you recognizing where these energies sit, you then can move them out of yourself and let relief pour in. All right, they say, receive this now, this opening, a passage for the earth. So this isn't just us, this is the earth that's going through this exact same thing. And the earth is, and this is, I think we can start to see as these energies are hitting the planet, we know, and I think this is still a debate in science, but I think that lots of scientists agree at this point, not all of them, but many agree that stuff that's happening with the sun, the solar energies influence earth changes. That we have a bunch of solar stuff hit the planet, then we have a bunch of earthquakes and volcanoes and stuff like that, that there's a direct connection. And when that kind of stuff comes up from the earth, it's a literal explanation, it's the same thing as our own junk coming up, right? It feels like energy. To the earth, it's lava. So it's the same thing for the earth. So that receive this now, this opening, a passage for the earth. So we are everything on earth is going through this. Receive this benefit you are in. The turmoil inside, it hearkens your passage. Let it win. So just know that the beautiful thing in all of this, as it is hard to go through, is that it's hard to experience it, but releasing it, if you can become aware and be present, the stuff that's coming up is super, super easy to release. Just go through the process I described, ask for help, make sure you're grounded, ask for help, and let it come up. And if you come across something that's really tough and you feel like you need help, get help. There's so many amazing healers. Just within this community, there are so many amazing healers. So, and like I said, that if you would like help with connecting to some of these energies and releasing, there is a lot of that happens in the Angelic Frequency series. So that's a great tool to use right now, a very powerful tool to prepare us and help us through these energies. So, all right, you guys, you're saying soul purge. Totally. A huge soul purge. And I think soul purge, yes, throughout our lives, we've been working on our soul purge, but the difference now is where they're telling us to stay in that place of openness, to release and stay and try our best to hold and condense that peace and try to get used to the sensation of just being open. And that's different. That is a different thing that's specific to now that's going to help us, because there's going to be boatloads of energies coming in and we want to make space. We are the open harbor. The more open we are, the more of those beautiful energies we can harbor. So, and it's not a one-time thing. They said it's piecemeal. So just do what you can without judgment of yourself and know you're working on it. And that's all you can do. All you can do is work on it. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. You're saying this has been awesome as always. I'm so glad. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Hey, Betsy, you're saying thank you, Anne, and the angels. You're super welcome. So thanks so much for spending the morning with me. Happy Friday. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I will be thinking of you and looking at your comments and enjoying them very much. And I will see you next Friday. Bye, you guys.